Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to cover a pull request from the WebKit team and figure out from that request if we think that Application Delegate is actually dying in iOS 19, and if it is, what we can do about it in our SwiftUI views. Let's get started. Recently I came across this article and wanted to share it with you all. I wanted to not only be able to support the person that wrote it, but also wanted to kind of go over it myself and see what I thought, because it actually affects some of the stuff that I do on a day-to-day basis. So this is an article from LapCat Software, as you can see up here. Don't worry, I'll drop a link to that in the description below. But he says, I'm subscribed to an RSS feed for WebKit commits. I cannot emphasize enough the utility of RSS. My primary interest is WebKit changes related to Safari extensions, but this unrelated commit caught my eye. Fix deprecated warnings due to new SDK. You know how big companies bury bad news by announcing it on a Friday evening before a holiday weekend? Anyway, the commit doesn't specify which new SDK, but the diff clearly shows the affected API, all of which are declared by the UI Application Delegate protocol in the UI kit UI application header file, and none of which are deprecated in the latest public iOS 18.4 SDK included with Xcode 13. I have to assume, therefore, that the new SDK refers to iOS 19, presumably forthcoming at DubDub in June, and Apple engineers are already compiling WebKit for the iOS 19 SDK, hence the deprecation warnings. According to the Apple developer document managing your app's lifecycle, when your app state changes, UIKit notifies you by calling methods of the appropriate delegate object. In iOS 13 and later, use UI scene delegate objects to respond to lifecycle events, and in iOS 12 and earlier, use the UI application delegate object to respond to lifecycle events. It appears that the above documented recommendation will be passed along to the compiler in the iOS 19 SDK. Of course, deprecation of an API is not the same as removal of an API. Who knows when removal would occur, if ever. After all, these UI Application Delegate API were essential and ubiquitous. Removing the API from iOS would assuredly break many extant apps, I guess that means existing apps, including my own. In any case, this blog post is a heads up. So great article from Jeff Johnson here. Again, like I said, please go and support this creator. I wanted to actually look at this PR for myself to see what this was actually doing. So I've got that file open over here. So let's go over here and check it out. And as we can see, as far as pull requests go, it's a very small pull request, 11 new lines and 31 removals. So only 2 files here, as we can see. So the change is not that big. So let's go in and look at it and see what we can learn. All right, so the first file is in the web push daemon. It says allow deprecated declarations begin and allow them to end. Okay, so this looks like we are deprecating the methods here inside of this begin and end statement. And those are application option key activate for event. Okay, payload URL, payload options. Okay. And then we're deprecating some more things in this block of code here. This looks like probably the same thing. Yep, the activate, suspend, option key actions, option key payload options. Okay. Now that doesn't mean too much to me, but again, I'm not a WebKit developer, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. But let's keep going and see if we can figure out what else we've got. Again, adding some more pragma lines here. Okay, here's the stuff that we've got going. So we are, looks like, removing application will resign active. They're removing application did enter background. Application will enter foreground. Application did become active, and application will terminate. And again, like he was saying in the article, this is warnings due to a new SDK, and that SDK may or may not be iOS 19. We don't know for sure just because they don't specify. Okay, so it looks like Jeff was probably most concerned about this stuff down here. The application will resign active. And again, I don't want this to be a hit piece against Jeff. This is just for us to learn and figure out what we can do to prevent this stuff from affecting our apps. So let's go ahead and let's look at these options. Okay, so these are all from the UI Application Delegate files. And as we can see, it's from the app delegate here. Okay. Now, for one, while WebKit may be pulling them out, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of SwiftUI is pulling them out. But what could we do if that were the case? What are some options that we have in order to handle this in our SwiftUI app? Let's jump over into Xcode and let's find out what we can use. All right, now that we're back into Xcode, we've jumped into a brand new SwiftUI project, and we're not going to actually need the view because we're dealing with the application delegate here. So let's go ahead and let's look at some of the things we can do. The first thing I kind of want to consider is removing the API from iOS would assuredly break many existing apps, including my own. So let's actually think about that. If we add something here, for example, if we add a .onChange of and then we will give it something to watch. So let's say @state_var text. So on change of text, we have a new text here there we go. Now you'll see that on change was deprecated in iOS 17. But one thing we can do is we can come to our project settings and into our app target, and we can bring this back to iOS 16, for example. And we can go back into our view here, and we'll see once it gets a chance to rebuild, that warning goes away. So what does that mean for new API changes breaking apps? That means new APIs won't actually break your app unless you're building against the new APIs. So that's one thing to take away. We don't have to be worried or afraid that just because a new API comes out, it means that our app won't automatically work. It will just let us know, hey, when you build against the new target, in other words, if we come back over here and we say, oh, we've been building for years against iOS 16, now we're going to bump it up to iOS 17, then we should see this warning come back in when it gets a chance to rebuild. There we go. Hey, onChange was deprecated, use the new version. Great. So that's one piece taken care of. We don't have to worry about new APIs breaking our app. But what about the other methods? And in case you were wondering, the way to handle an onChange in iOS 17 and above is actually this way of passing either 2 parameters or none. So that's the easiest way. The new onChange method gives you an old and a new version of the text for you to check against. And that's great. But what can we do to take care of some of the application delegate methods that we could see in that PR that are going away? Well, in SwiftUI, there's a thing called scene phase, and it does exactly that. In fact, let's go ahead and let's get rid of our onChange here. And we'll get rid of this temporary state variable here. And we will get the scene phase from the environment. Now, one thing that you can do, if you're ever curious as to what something does, if you press Option, your mouse will turn into a question mark if you're hovering over something that has documentation, and you can click on it, and you can get to the documentation, especially like this stuff from Apple, and you can actually see what is going on with this object inside. So let's go and let's look more into the scene phase. Awesome. So this says, a scene phase is an indication of a scene's operational state. And it even says that it's been mentioned in migrating to the SwiftUI lifecycle. So let's go ahead and let's check that out real quick, because I think it would be valuable too. And so this says that we are to use a scene-based lifecycle in SwiftUI while keeping our existing code base. That's what this example article is about. So this is allowing us to convert from our UI application lifecycle over to our scene-based lifecycle when we're converting over to a SwiftUI app. That's another thing that looks like Jeff and other developers could possibly do. If they are using an app, not like an SDK or something like that, then they should be able to swap it over to SwiftUI fairly simply and use a scene-based lifecycle instead of a UIKit-based lifecycle. And again, these docs are just built in to Xcode, and anybody can come in here and check these out. So if you happen to come across this and this is what you need, feel free to jump in and read this article here too. But let's go back to our scene phase documentation and let's see what we can use here. So it looks like we have an active, an inactive, and a background scene. So this is for when the scene is in the foreground and interactive. This is when the scene is in the foreground, but should pause work. And this scene isn't currently visible in the UI. Okay, so let's compare that to some of the methods that were going away. All right, so will resign active and did enter background. Okay, so the background scene, this is when it currently isn't visible in the UI. So it looks like this has got us taken care of for our did enter background. And did become active, it looks like we've got this one right here. The scene is in the foreground and interactive. Okay, so that's got that one taken care of. And will enter foreground taken care of. And let's see, so we're still missing a will resign active and will terminate. So let's see if we can jump into some of these and check this out. So in the inactive state, it says a scene in this phase doesn't receive events and should pause timers and free any unnecessary resources. The scene might be completely hidden in the user interface or otherwise unavailable to the user. An app or custom scene in this phase contains no scene instance in the scene phase active phase. So what that looks like to me is it looks like, and if your app is in the background, it is subject to be terminated at any time. So this is probably where I would handle the did enter background, or sorry, this is where I would probably handle the will terminate, or this looks like it may be a state in between the active and background. So this is probably will enter background because we've got did enter background, but that's not one of the methods that's getting deprecated. Okay. And then let's check out the background. Do as little as possible in a scene that's in a background phase. The background phase can precede termination. So do any cleanup work immediately upon entering this state. Okay, so this looks like it takes care of our will terminate state here. And in fact, it may even be better to go ahead and do that in the intermediate phase. And then that way you've got just a little bit more time whenever you do enter the background phase in case there's any last minute cleanup things that you need to get done in your app. But it still doesn't look like we have anything for will resign active. Maybe that's our intermediate state. Yeah, it looks like that's probably our intermediate state. So the scene is in the foreground but should pause its work. But as we can see, with just a little bit of reading the documentation, we can learn ways of doing the same thing that we did in UIKit in SwiftUI. So let's go back to our app. There we are. Now there's one more thing that we need to look at here in the documentation, and that is this last sentence here. The exact meaning of scene phase depends on where you access the value. So in other words, if we are on a view, then the scene phase information that we are getting is for that view. For example, this is on the timer view that it's listening to things. But we could also get, if you read the phase from within an app instance, you obtain an aggregate value that reflects the phase of all the scenes in your app. So what that means is if we add this here on our window group like we're doing in this scenario, then it is the scene phase for the entire app is what it looks like. So let's jump back into Xcode and let's implement this on our own apps. All right, and then let's add our change of scene phase. And as we saw earlier, this on change was deprecated in iOS 17. So let's go and we'll say that our old value is here. There we go. All right, so if our new value is active, then we can print scene phase is active. There we go. Else, if new value is inactive, then we can print scene phase is inactive. Else, if new value equals dot background, we will print that the scene phase is in the background. And you know what? Let's add one more print statement here. Scene phase was, and we'll print our old value just so that we can see what that is in between the states here. There we go. Okay, and let's run our app. Okay, now that our app is running, we can see that our scene phase was inactive and then it became active. All right, and let's go back and let's jump back to our home screen and see what happens. Scene phase was active and now it's inactive, and then it went from inactive into the background. Okay, so we're getting our app lifecycle events just by using the scene phase object. That's still pretty cool. And we didn't need any app delegate to get this kind of information. And like we said earlier, if we wanted to see the scene phases of an individual view, we could also add this to a specific view. But there's a couple other, not necessarily lifecycle events, but other events that we can listen to as well on a particular view. So we can add an onAppear, and we'll say that the view appeared. And we can also add an onDisappear. Print the view disappeared. There we go. And let's rerun our app, and then we'll see when these two objects also get run on the view specifically instead of the whole app. There we go. We can look here and we can see that the view appeared, and it even appeared apparently before the scene was active, so that's interesting. All right, let's take it and let's take our simulator and go back home, and let's see what's going on here. So now our scene phase was inactive and was active, and then it moved to inactive, and then it went from inactive to the background, but it never says that our view disappeared. So that's interesting. So it looks like that didn't get called this time around, but that still gives us some other options that we can add to get some more lifecycle events for an individual view itself. And again, I just want to say huge shout out to Jeff for writing this article. And again, this was not any kind of hit piece against him. This was for us to learn other options that we have so that we know other ways of doing the same thing, so that we don't have to be worried about new things that may or may not be coming in the future. Again, feel free to go check out the article that Jeff wrote and support this awesome content creator. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And if you leave a comment, just be nice about it. That's all I ask. Thanks, and have a great day.